I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Dolphins fans, it's good to see you again. I hope you enjoy seeing my face again. It's been a little bit. I've taken some time off during the initial off-season break here for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, I'm excited about the Super Bowl this week. Kansas City taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be a good game, I think. You know, the Eagles, let's face it, they belong there. You know, they were the best team in the league all season. They played well. It was kind of funny. A story came out today that some of the Eagles players thought they'd be seeing the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl later in the year, but Tua, you know, couldn't stay healthy and he had some other issues, so here we are. But should be a fun Super Bowl. I was kind of pulling for the Bengals, to be honest with you, on the AFC side. You know, I like the fan base over there. I thought, you know, like I said, when I went to the game, it was a fun time. They were good people, and I like Joe Burrow a lot. But it is what it is, and we're going to have a good matchup, so I'm excited about that. Miami obviously switching out offensive line coaches, obviously getting Vic Fangio to be our defensive coordinator. I think he's making like close to head coach money, close to $5 million a year. Hey, that whatever it took. I am not a Magoo fan. I do not like Magoo. You guys know my feelings on Magoo, but hey, if he got this done with Fangio, it's what needed to be done. He didn't scoff at it. He's paying him. You got to pay him. Also, you know what? Props to our head coach, Mike McDaniel. You know, Flo had trouble getting alpha guys in to coach the offense when he was a defensive-minded head coach, and that was a big part of the problem. McDaniel comes in, and in one offseason, he has a very, you know, an alpha dog, leader, experienced guy taking over his defense and doing it willingly, and he's not intimidated by the money that Fangio is going to make. So props all around on the Fangio hire. Props all around on that. I think it's going to benefit us in the long term. Again, not completely blaming Boyer, but at the end of the day, you know, you need changes sometimes. And with Flores, congratulations to Brian Flores as well, taking over as the defensive coordinator out in Minnesota. And they're a good team. And I think it's going to benefit them as well as us to have, well, not us, but, you know, the league. He's a good defensive coordinator. And you know what? Maybe there'll be a trade partner with us, because maybe there's a few guys that he's going to want over there that are his guys from the Dolphins, and maybe there's some pieces they can offer us, so that's something to watch. But the main reason I'm doing the video today, guys, is to talk about Zach Thomas, man. So growing up as a kid born in 85 who really was a fan and became a fan in the early 90s and then continued to be a fan throughout the 90s, Zach Thomas was one of my favorite players growing up. He was one of the most impactful players. He was a guy every year you counted on to make an impact. Every year you counted on to be a superstar player for you. Alongside with Jason Taylor, who was another of my favorites. And then you had, obviously, Surtain, and you had Sam Madison, you had Terrell Buckley. You had these guys. You had Brock Marion. I mean, the defenses were always great. Tim Bowens, they were always great in that era. And that's really what kept us going in those late 90s years when Marino was a little bit on the decline. And, you know, they had us in the playoffs almost every year. And they had us contending for division titles almost every year. And it's a shame that we never quite got over the hump as far as the running game had problems or the offensive line, whatever the issue was. It's a shame that we were never able to get over the hump when we had those great defenses. It's just odd, too. I think it might have just been bad luck, because you remember in the 80s, Marino was great and the offense was so good, but the defense was lacking in the early 90s as well. And then, you know, what does Jimmy Johnson do after Shula leaves? Jimmy Johnson comes in and he builds a great defense, one of the top 5 defenses in the league perennially, and yet we just get bad luck. And even with Marino on the other side, we can't get to the promised land. It's just a shame. But Zach Thomas, man, just a great player, and it's been 14 years he's been retired, and he, you know, Brian Urlacher got in first ballot, and credit to Brian Urlacher. He even said the other day, I think on the Pat McAfee show, hey, I'm wondering why Zach Thomas isn't in the league. We have similar stats. You know, why isn't he in the league? And props to Urlacher for saying that. JT obviously was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he got a little bit of an assist from Tom Brady writing a letter and some other things. So it's always been a debate, right? It's always been the class that Zach is up against. It's always been perception. It's always been, it's crazy how size and perception follows you even despite results. This just goes to the things I tell you guys all the time about narratives and how narratives take hold. Coming out of college, Jimmy Johnson has said, we thought Zach might be a guy who could help us on special teams. We thought Zach might be a guy who would be a backup linebacker because we didn't think he had the size or the height or et cetera. But guys were saying, well, he was a playmaker, though, in college. He was a playmaker, and Jimmy Johnson said, well, as soon as we got him in camp, we knew this kid's got some instincts you can't teach. This kid's got raw talent. This kid's going to be the real deal. And sure enough, he was. 1,100 solo tackles in his career, 627 assists on tackles, 17 interceptions, 16 forced fumbles, 20.5 sacks, and 4 touchdowns for Zach Thomas. Just incredible stats for a linebacker, especially of his size and whatnot. This was a 5-time All-Pro, and All-Pro is always the better one because the journalists selected. It's not as much driven by fans and popularity. 5 times All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler. So he went to the Pro Bowl half of all the seasons he played, pretty much. The guy was a beast, 1996 to 2008, I believe, is how long he played. And the guy was just a phenomenal linebacker. Deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, is now in the Hall of Fame. He joins fellow Miami Dolphins linebacker Nick Buonaconti in the Hall of Fame, another one of my all-time favorites. And it's just a great day for Dolphins fans. It's a great day for Zach. It gives us something to cheer for at the Hall of Fame induction and the ceremony and the speeches. And it's a great thing for us. And a great thing for Zach, really. And he deserves it. It's well deserved, and it's long overdue. And I've had people, by the way, I've had people from all over the place who are not Dolphins fans reach out to me and say, wow, about time. So he joins a long list of Miami Dolphins in the Hall of Fame. So you had Paul Warfield, Jason Taylor, Dwight Stevenson, Don Shula, obviously, Dan Marino, Larry Little, Jim Langer, Bob Greasy, Larry Zonka, Nick Buonaconti, Bobby Beathard, and Bobby Beathard was he was a big influence on the 72 Dolphins in the front office. And then there were other Dolphins, that you could list because they had been part of the Miami Dolphins and subsequently went on to the Hall of Fame, but they're not they didn't go in as Dolphins, right? They didn't spend the prime bulk of their career as Dolphins, so I didn't name them. But he joins a long list. I believe we have 11 Hall of Famers now that are legitimate Dolphins going in. And it's a big thing for us. If you saw the video, if you haven't yet, check it out where Jimmy Johnson tells him he's going to the Hall, and they're kind of both crying almost. It's just an awesome time. That was an awesome era that I think we sometimes forget to talk about. We talk about it a little, but we talk glowingly of the 70s and the 80s, and then we kind of forget that Jimmy Johnson era. And I know people hate on Wannstedt, but that era too. I mean, that was another era of contention and good football from this franchise. It just didn't get us to the promised land, which is a shame. But it's great to see another guy from that era, from my childhood, and from a lot of our childhoods who watch these shows and who are in this podcast community, because a lot of us in that same age group. It's great to see another guy that we grew up watching, we grew up rooting for, that had a big impact on our fandom and our lives, go into the Hall. So it's just a great day for Zach. It's a great day for the Miami Dolphins, and I wanted to, obviously, whenever there's a big day for the Miami Dolphins, I want to sit down and talk to you guys. So here I am sitting down talking to you guys. Guys, we will be back with content for the draft. We will be back with content just sporadically when things pop up. LG Shaking the Panel will be back at some point in the off season. I don't think I'm going to wait all the way till August to do it, but we'll see, how we schedule it, if we do a special edition or if it's more consistent. We'll see. There's a lot going on, obviously, for me, and, I definitely need some time management when things like that happen. But here's what I will say to you, and I hope that you tune in. Starting next Thursday at 7 p.m., I want you to come and I want you to hop in the blender with Shake Money. Because starting next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on Phin-Addict Fury, you can see Shake Money, my co-host on LG Shaking the Panel, a guy who's famous throughout the Dolphins community, who is known amongst fans, who's a fan's fan. That dude, Shake, is starting his own show on this channel next Thursday where he is going to be interviewing Dolphins fans and other prominent members of this community. He is going to be interviewing them about their Dolphins fandom, and it's going to be a little more personal. It's going to be a little bit more intimate into people's lives, and it's kind of the people behind the faces that you see in these circles. It's the people behind that. It's not just talking about current events with the team. It's delving into individuals and their personal experience with the team. And it's going to be really, really a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to it. So that first episode is coming at you next Thursday at 7 p.m. I hope you'll tune in. We will send another reminder. I'm really looking forward to it. I know Shake's looking forward to it. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to put it together and make sure that when it debuts, it's good content for you guys. Guys, if you haven't done so yet, please, right here, just click subscribe. There is plenty of Dolphins content coming your way from this channel. You know how my style is, and if you don't, go back and watch some videos. We handle Miami Dolphins talk from an objective point of view. Everybody gets a chance to talk. Everybody gets a chance to make their points, and we keep it 100% real here. We don't have agendas on this channel. So if you love the Miami Dolphins, or you just like NFL football, you just like good content, you just like good sports content, click subscribe right here. Takes a millisecond and really boosts the channel. Everybody who's been a fan, everybody who's donated, everybody who's been a part of this channel from its inception not that long ago till now, thank you so much. You continue to be my biggest supporters and my biggest inspiration to create content. Congratulations to Zach Thomas. Congratulations to the Miami Dolphins organization. And I'll be back with you guys very, very soon. Have an awesome weekend. Fins up.